Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The 100. So in this episode, we pick up where last week's episode left off with Sky Crew locking the bunker. And so obviously last episode was like, okay, maybe there's got to be something more to this. Clark's obviously got a plan or something. It's like, no, for Clark, it's all about saving her people. I mean, in her mind, it's not about saving their people. It's about saving the human race, because all the technology and stuff that they have the know-how to understand how to keep everything going while underneath the bunker, because this is kind of supposed to be like a 5-year plan. So basically, they're the only ones, with the know-how to operate it. So that's what for her in her mind is like, we have to save everyone. Also because she didn't have faith in Octavia, which is like so messed up, because it's like you're kind of the most optimistic out of everyone, but then again, this season kind of shows you it's like, no, she hasn't necessarily been the most optimistic, because there was the whole situation of like coming up with the list in the first place, and then obviously she was super reluctant. Obviously that was a backup plan and everything, but still, nevertheless, it's like the fact of the matter is you try to tell Rowan that, like, oh, things could be this way and everything. It's like you also told, it's like, oh yeah, at the very least, like last episode, she admitted, she was like, yeah, I don't know. She never outright said, like, I don't believe in Octavia. It's like, what's more important is for Octavia to believe in herself, at least think that we believe in her, which we know from Bellamy's side of the story, he definitely believed in her, so. But obviously Bellamy's like, no, I'm not going to leave my sister out there to die. And for Abby, it's like Kane is still out this side too. And Jaha kind of takes over and he's like, no, we can't do this, because basically letting anyone in would be sacrificing their people. Because at first it's like, yeah, because like for Clark too, like going back to not having faith in Octavia, it's like, yeah, but she'd have to go up against Luna, which we know she killed Luna last episode. She won, she took over, and it's like, oh, there's balance in everything. Like she runs the conclave, everyone gets to share this space. But at the same time, it's also back to that conversation like, no. This means that some of our people would have to die if we let some of them in. It's like the fact of the matter is that other clans are willing to do this. They've already chosen the 100 that will survive from each of the respective clans and stuff like that. But Jaha's kind of taking control again, and basically Bellamy gets locked up. Which Abby brings up a very good, interesting point that had never crossed my mind. Is like, this is literally the arc all over again. Keeping secrets and kind of making it so like, oh, everyone, like, this is doing whatever we can to survive, locking up those who don't agree with us, or, who might interfere with things, and killing those who kind of stand in our way. Well, kind of as like they're dooming everyone that's outside of the bunker. So it's like, it's literally a repeat of that situation, because at the same time, you also have Jaha at the top, which Jaha even brings it up to Abby later on. It's like, what makes this situation different from back then? Like, you were in the same position before, and you reported Jake and you had him floated. It's like, what makes this situation different? It's like, because for Abby, it's like, I don't like, I'm not happy about this decision. When Jaha's like, oh, we survived this, then we survived this, and then we're able to kind of live with ourselves with what we've done. But it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Because even Clark knows this is the wrong decision. She's like, yeah, we just have to find a way to live with us doing the wrong thing, so. But at the end of the day, it's like, for her, it's like, it's back to that position of like, Clark's like, Bellamy's like, you're back to doing what you did before, doing what you think is right. And it's like, Clark, it's like, it's kind of what Jasper kind of brought up before. It's like, who is she to really determine all of this? And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, she's trying her best to do it. Like, you could argue there's a wrong choice and there's a right choice. I mean, it's a position, like, from the beginning, I've made it clear, I would not want to be in Clark's shoes. That's a decision no one should have to make. But she's kind of become the leader. She's been the leader of, like, Sky Crew since the very beginning, since the first original 100 came to Earth. Like, she's been kind of the leader. Obviously, like, originally it was Bellamy, but then it became like a whole, like, co-leader type of situation, and that's kind of been maintained, so. Because the fact of the matter is, this would be one more thing that's on Clark's conscience. Because let's not forget, the biggest thing that was on her conscience is what went down with at Mount Weather killing all the mountain men. Then there's in season 3, the City of Light. It's like, will she be able to handle another, like, killing of a whole bunch of people for the sake of survival? It's like, in those positions, it's like she didn't have much of a choice. In this point in time, she does have a choice. Those were some very catastrophic things, but it's like, this is something because at the end of the day, it's like, who's to say Clark will actually be able to live with herself when it's all said and done? Like, everyone's got this mentality of like, we'll find a way to live with ourselves when we survive. But like, the problem is living is the hardest thing. Living with all the mistakes you've made, and you make something like this, especially for Clark, it's like, especially because of Kane and Octavia and the Grounders who you've considered friends and everything. It's like the people who've helped you throughout a lot of the problems you've dealt with over the years of, being here on Earth and everything. It's like you turn your back on them, even though you preach like, oh, we need to come together and everything. And when Octavia finally does it, you were like willing to not take that chance. So it was kind of interesting that she ended up getting Murphy out of everybody. It's like, well, Murphy has the most reason to not help Bellamy, because for him it's all about survival. Because he's always been like that. He is quote unquote selfish and everything. And for him, it's not also about him looking out for himself. It's also about looking out for Imori. So because if he causes any problems, kind of screws this whole thing up, him and Imori might get kicked out. So there's always the possibility there. Which to me, I was thinking maybe Murphy was going to side with Bellamy and help him out. Eventually, get broken down and eventually he'd help him, but, turns out not to be the case. But at the end of the day, it's not because he is being selfish. I mean, to be fair, at this point in time, like, a lot of people are being very selfish. So, but to him, it's like, at the end of the day, Murphy's kind of proven time and time again that he's not 100% selfish. He has his own code, his own weird code and everything. And it's just, I don't know. At the end of the day, it came down to it, like, Bellamy was able to get away because he ended up getting Abby's help. The whole hurting himself thing was to the point of getting her there to talk to her and everything, so. Because at the end of the day, for all of them, like, even for Abby, it's not even just about protecting Kane, which there was that moment where Jaha was like, yeah, Marcus, he was a good man. It's like, dude, he's not dead yet, and you're already talking about him like he's dead. That's probably that was the moment where she was probably like, yeah, okay, boom. Like, obviously she tried to talk Jaha out of it, but he wasn't willing to listen. Octavia, there was a whole conversation between her and Echo. Echo found out about, like, oh, so this is what you've been keeping, huh? I'm gonna tell the other clans, and once they find out, you're done for. And then she throws in her face, it's like, oh, so what about when they find out about what you did in the conclave? It's like, yeah, I know about it. Rowan found you out too. And so kind of basically blackmails her. It's like, you keep your mouth shut about this, then, trust that Bellamy will get this open. Which, for Echo is like, yeah, the one person he cares about more than anything in the world is Octavia. So she's like, okay, I'll believe in that plan. So she keeps her mouth shut, obviously. Time was running out, but luckily Bellamy was able to get the door open. I was kind of worried that Clark might actually shoot him, but more so than anything, I was thinking it was actually going to be someone else that ends up shooting him. Like, Clark obviously lowered the gun, but I was thinking, like, at the last minute, maybe someone else is going to show up. And then I was like, no one else would be there, because, like, the main person to kind of be in the way is Jahan. He was kind of knocked out at the time, so. But what I love is when Octavia's like, oh yeah, everyone, let's go in. We're all one clan. Oh, except for you, Echo. It's like, wait, what? It's like, oh, I never promised to help you. I promised to help your people. And you have Indra adding, is like, well, don't worry. You don't have to worry about your living with your banishment for long. Obviously, your death will be coming soon. Which, Echo should have seen it coming, because not even just what happened during the conclave. Let's not forget, a lot of stuff that went down in season 3 was because of her working with the Ice Queen, the Ice Nation Queen. Like, she set the whole situation up at Mount Weather that killed a lot of their people and kind of escalated helped kind of fuel fire to the whole Pike situation. Like, Pike's whole situation would not have escalated the way it did. Bellamy wouldn't have escalated to the way he did if it wasn't for what Echo did. It's like, you've betrayed us, you've turned against us. Also, let's not forget, her and Rowan killed a lot of Tree Crew people too, so there's that whole situation. Which is still kind of crazy to think about, the fact that Rowan's dead now. It's like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. But I'm sure Echo's not going to go down without a fight. I get the feeling like she might come back and try and stir up some problems. Maybe that's the case, maybe not. We'll just kind of have to see what happens going forward. But now it's like, they're in a position where it's like, okay, so as I brought up earlier, and I brought it up for a particular reason, it's the list. Because now we're literally back to that situation. It's like, yeah, we have 12 hours. Sky Crew has 12 hours to decide on what 100 people are going to survive. Except for, actually, you're down to 99 because Bellamy is totally on that list now. It's like, screw anyone else, because Bellamy went through hell and back to kind of get that door open for us. So, yeah. So now that starts begging the question, like, who gets to go? Like, Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, no, Clark doesn't get to be on that list anymore because of what she did. Her or Jaha, they made this decision without everyone else. And it's like, at the same time, it's like, oh, like anyone else that sided with them in this whole decision, like Nathan is them, like obviously they had their reservations, but they went along with it too. At the end of the day, like that's still a key primal instinct for a lot of people is self-preservation. And it's like, are you willing to let yourself, or as well as, anyone else that you care about and know, to die in a place of someone else that you don't know, that you've obviously always had problems with? But like as Octavia said, they are one clan now. So obviously the other clans have decided, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like, it's like, oh, we have like 500 people. It's like, we have a lot more people, so why should we have to sacrifice? And Octavia's like, do you look at the other clans? The clans came to decision like, oh, these 100 will survive, and they accepted it. And it's like, so why should Sky Crew be in the exception? It's like, you need some people to keep them things working. It's like, okay, they better be part of that 100 people, because you got 12 hours to decide, because the radiation is coming fast and time is running out. So this also coincides with the other two sides of this story. Obviously, you have Monty's side of things. Obviously, he's still telling everyone, like, come on, let's get out. Everyone's kind of getting a little sick and everything already because of the radiation. He's kind of keeping himself protected. But there's one of the guys that ends up, he doesn't die from the radiation, he ends up dying from an overdose because of all the stuff they're taking and stuff. Which Jasper's like, no, don't try and save him. The fact of the matter is, this is what he wanted. And look, he went out, happy and peaceful. It's better than kind of being kind of killed. And, at least this way they can go out of their own volition. But also at the same time, it's like they kind of have a more, I guess, quote unquote, peaceful way of going. Like I brought up, like this whole Jasper situation, I've been the most biggest, ever since like last season, I've been like, Jasper, you and your whole mindset, but at the same time, it's like my mindset has changed, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like it is his life. I don't want him to kill himself. I didn't want these other people to kill themselves, but at the end of the day, that was their choice in this matter, and it's like their lives are their own. I mean, it's just sad that you wish that he hadn't done what he did, like him and the others. Like he ends up killing himself, and he's like, because for Monty, he's like, for him, it's like Harper and Jasper are the only two people he's got left. Let's not forget his dad's gone, his mom is gone now. I mean, and on top of that, let's not forget he was the one that had to put his mom down last season. So that's a lot of, and it's just like the last two people he has, Jasper, who's like a brother to him, and the woman he loves. It's like, but neither one of them wants to survive. In Harper's case, just to kind of push Monty to go on without her, she's like, I don't love you, Monty. Not enough to live for you. And she's like, and I'm not worth dying for, so just go. And then when she leaves the truck, she starts crying, because it's like, she said that just to push him on, because it's like, because she even said, I don't want to see you die, Monty. It's because it's like, the last thing she wants is Monty to stay there and die for her sake. It's like, obviously Monty wants to live, but it's like, Harper's very conflicted. But Jasper was adamant about it, and to the very end, he ended up, taking his own life. Which you have Monty be like, no, come on, you idiot, stop doing this. Like, I will never forgive you. And he's like, don't say that, Monty. Just tell me that you love me. Tell me that it's okay. He's just like, this is kind of, at the end of the day, it's like, this is my choice. And it's like, he died in Monty's arms. And it's like, Monty kind of yells it out to him. He's like, I love you. And it's like, I wish things didn't have to end that way. I mean, because at the end of the day, all Monty has left now is Harper, because of that, which she didn't, luckily she didn't go along with it. But like I said, it's sad that things kind of ended this way. I mean, it's so interesting, because it's like, you saw who Jasper was at the very beginning of the series, and seeing him get to where he is now, it's just like, he'd given up, man. Like he'd set his mind up. Like last season, he had set his mind up that like, hey, things are going to end this way for me. It's like, I'm waiting for death. And so it's like, I'd rather go out on my own terms rather than, live knowing that I don't want to. So like I said, at the end of the day, it's his choice, but it still sucks. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's like, who am I to impose my will onto someone else? It's like, just killing yourself, like in general, is just like something that it rubs me the wrong way. I'm not going to hate someone for doing it, but it's just like, it makes me sad. Like, it's at the end of the day. So I think that's kind of like the correlation. Obviously, you can apply the story to real world scenarios. Obviously, not this exact scenario, but those feelings of despair and just wanting to give up. You kind of get that. I mean, it coincides with the other side of the story, because you have Raven kind of doing the same thing. It's like, obviously, like, I'm gonna do something spectacular. Obviously, Jasper and the others are kind of partying partying it up, and Raven's kind of going to do the same thing when she spacewalks, obviously, you know, out in space and everything. But then all of a sudden, there's another side of a kind of illusion that kind of pops up, and it turns out to be Sinclair, and he's there to remind her, is like, hey, don't give up. Raven, you're not a quitter. But she's like, oh, the fact of the matter is this thing on my brain and everything. It's like, yeah, but how do you know that it's, you know, permanent? Did you ever try to actually look for a solution? And it's like, for him, it's like, the Raven I know isn't a quitter, but at the same time, she has Rebecca, which I appreciate that whole scenario, because obviously, like, at first when, like, Raven kind of wakes up and she looks, she sees, like, Rebecca tied up and got, like, tape over her mouth. It's like, obviously, that's all a manifestation of her brain. It's kind of interesting because it's like, obviously, they represent the dual sides of her brain. Like, obviously, it took on the form of two people that she obviously respects, you know, and one being one person that she severely cares about. One side of her brain is like, oh, just give up, you know, but the other side of her brain is like, no, tap into that instinct to always want to survive. Because, you know, Sinclair is like, you know, because Rebecca's like, oh, the fact of the matter is, if she goes back, you know, even if she does live through all this, the fact of the matter is she'll be normal, which is like, Raven's never been normal. She's always been super smart. Like, that's why she was able to make it. Her and Abby worked together to get her here in the first place back in season 1. Yeah, season 1. Yeah, so, but also going back to it, like, because the fact of the matter is, like, it's also a different perspective of, like, if you're not, the fact is that if you're willing to die to make sure that you can live, like, it's a message of, like, she's willing to put all her cards on the table, because either way, she's going to die anyway, right? But at the very least, why not die trying to live? You know, it's because, you know, Sinclair kind of inspired her with hope. It's like, I didn't die so that you could just give up. It's like, no, I wanted you to live, you know, because you have to. So like I said, it was kind of interesting, like, the dual competing sides of her brains. So basically, she kind of, like, you know, the whole thing is to kind of die so that basically she can restart her brain, essentially, kind of give her brain enough time to heal, like, treat her brain like a computer and reboot it. So freeze, like, she gets in some cold water to kind of slow down the beating of her heart. She has a whole system set up so that basically she gets electroshocked, and then obviously she does it again to kind of restart her heart at a normal pace and everything. So it seems like she's okay, and she sends out a message saying, like, I'm Raven and I'm alive. So, which is good, but at the same time, going back to our original predicament, the 100, you know, back to that good old number 100 again, which I didn't even think about till just now. I know, right? It's literally, the show's called The 100. They started off with The 100, and now it's like they're the 100 on the list, and now this. It's like, why did it take me that long to put that all together? I was literally saying the 100 earlier, and it just, I don't know. I know, like, it's to the point, I've said it so many times, that number as, well, number/word has lost all meaning. But what does this mean going forward? Like, obviously you get the feeling Raven will be fine because she is smart, so they'll need her and everything. But then there was a whole situation when it came to Harper in the first place, her and Monty, because Monty's really smart, but then again, it's like, remember, Monty originally wasn't on the list, Jaha was, but now it's like, because of what Jaha's done, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, we're not putting you on the list, you're going to die. Like I said, there's probably going to be some animosity, because even Octavia's like, and she's like, yeah, Sky Crew isn't my crew. Like, obviously, she's always had a problem with Sky Crew. Obviously, that's why she went and joined Tree Crew, but now it's like, for her, it's like, there's Sky Crew, and then there's Bellamy. Like, Bellamy's her brother. He's not associated with Sky Crew. It's like, he's his own thing. That's why he's getting his own spot. The rest of Sky Crew, you better decide about those other 99 spots. Because the whole situation was like, Harper has like a predisposition to like a disease or something like that, was the reason why Clark didn't have her on the list originally, and obviously Monty isn't on the list because there's already a better engineer that was Jaha. So it's like, how are these all these events going to affect things going forward? Like I said, I get the feeling like whole Echo situation isn't over with. I mean, feel like there's got to be a lot more to this. Like, I mean, ultimately it will come down to, how will they decide? How do you decide like this? I get a feeling maybe Monty will get Raven's transmission and get to her in try and get to the bunker. So we will just have to see how everything turns out in the next episode. Can already tell it's probably going to be a crazy ride, like, coming to this decision. It will not be an easy one, and it's one that over 400 people are not going to agree with, and I'm sure Jaha is going to lead that rebellion, so it's probably going to turn into a war in the bunkers, if not over, definitely over the bunkers, but whether it be in the bunkers or not, I don't know, because those 400 people, like, no one in Sky Crew is going to take that line down, because it's like no one knows for sure like who will be the ones that die and who are the ones that get to live. And at the end of the day, who will be the ones to make that decision? Will it come down to a council? And it's like, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to vote like, no, the person that should stay alive is me. And then once again, it's like, at the end of the day, this is all about preserving the human race and all people. Sky Crew, Grounder, Tree Crew, Ice Nation, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're all one clan. They're all human beings in this case. So, but obviously, like I said, the Grounders have made their own decision. The only ones standing are Sky Crew. They're the only ones left. So we'll just have to wait and see how everything turns out. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.